In a tense classroom at Jiangkang No. 2 High School, a chalkboard announced just one day left until the unified exam. The class teacher, Chen Fan, gave final instructions. He told students taking the liberal arts exam to prepare their IR stationery, and gave a more serious reminder to those taking the martial arts exam to prepare their IR combat gear and weapons. Teacher Chen Fan then warned about the deadly risk of the martial arts college entrance exam. He strongly advised any student with an awakened ability below D level not to take it. From his seat, a student named Xu Jingming smirked, feeling the teacher's warning was directed at him. He thought to himself that he had transmigrated into this world called Blue Star. It was technologically similar to his old one, but it was also inhabited by ferocious, bloodthirsty beasts. To counter this, some humans had awakened superpowers. In this world, people could awaken various abilities at age 16, which were rated on a scale from F to S. However, the majority of people only awakened skills between F and D as he considered his own power. A small flash of lightning appeared. He revealed that his ability was an E-grade weak electricity, nodding with disappointment that its power was only comparable to a simple stun baton. As Xu Jingming reflected, a blonde-haired classmate Huangshan tapped on his desk. He mockingly asked if Xu Jingming still planned to take the martial arts exam, calling him E-grade trash who would only shame the school. Huangshan suggested Xu Jingming should just choose liberal arts and offered him a future as a small clerk in his company. Before Xu Jingming could answer, a female classmate, Linking, stood up and told Huangshan to mind his own business. Annoyed, Huangshan scoffed at her and promised to show her who was best during the exam. As he walked away, he glanced back and added a cruel remark, predicting Xu Jingming would die on the exam grounds. After Huangshan left, Lin Qingli turned to Xu Jingming with concern. She advised him to ignore Huangshan's words and suggested that switching to liberal arts might not be a bad option. Xu Jingming listened to her silently, his expression unreadable. Lost in thought, Xu Jingming looked at his Great Xia Unified Exam registration form. The form listed his E-level elemental ability. In the Great Xia Kingdom, education was split into liberal arts and martial arts. Those with low-level abilities could choose liberal arts for an ordinary life. The martial arts path was far more dangerous. Students must enter a designated area and fight fierce beasts to the death to pass. Only by surviving could one hope to enter an ability user university. There, with years of training, even an unranked person could become a truly powerful ability user. Xu Jingming understood why his teacher and Lin Qingli were worried. He knew they feared what might happen if he took the exam. However, he also recognized that he could not escape the constant threat of the beasts. This thought triggered a painful memory of a beast tied from his past where he knelt as a child, crying over the lifeless bodies of his parents. The memory strengthened his resolve. He did not want to be powerless again. With determination, he held up his registration form and firmly declared that he would still choose the martial arts exam. As the sun set, Xu Jingming was in a training hall practicing relentlessly with a long spear. He channeled his electrical ability into the weapon, causing blue lightning to crackle along its length. With a cry, he executed a powerful swing. The intense training quickly left him drained. He let out a large yawn, complaining about how tired he was, and then collapsed onto the floor, his spear falling beside him. Lying on the ground, Xu Jingming thought about his training. He had been practicing with the spear for 2.5 years. Despite his efforts, his proficiency was still at a beginner level. He had bought a spear technique called Lightning Gale Break for $300,000, which he believed made him a little stronger than other ordinary E-class awakened ones. As he lay there, a grim thought crossed his mind. He knew the death rate for students below D-class in the exam was increasing every year. This thought strengthened his resolve. To get into an awakened university, he must be prepared to fight with everything he had. He pushed himself up and approached a machine, clenching his fist. As his hand neared the machine's panel, a blue holographic interface suddenly materialized, displaying "System Activating." Xu Jingming's eyes widened in shock as he tried to comprehend what was happening. The system's activation finished, and a new message asked if he wanted to claim the newbie gift package. Still on the floor, he realized this could be the legendary cheat system for transmigrators. His shock turned into excitement. A wide grin spread across his face as he wondered what the gift package contained. The system immediately revealed the contents: an S-rank super ability and 200 ability points. He was momentarily speechless. An S-rank ability was exceedingly rare. In a major country like Shiyu, a person with one was instantly recruited by top universities and cultivated into a powerhouse. Xu Jingming was stunned by his unbelievable fortune. The revelation filled him with hope. He realized that even though he was born as E-rank trash, this system gave him a chance to change his destiny. With a determined grin, he reached out his hand, crackling with his old, weak electricity, and said, "Claim." He accepted the gift without hesitation. Immediately, 3 system windows appeared. The newbie gift package was claimed. 200 ability points were credited and the system began distributing his new S-rank ability, Purple Cloud Thunder God's Lightning. The power surged directly into his heart. The process was incredibly painful. An immense power erupted from within him as violent purple lightning surged through his body, tearing his shirt. A progress bar appeared, slowly climbing as the energy exploded outwards, shattering the interior of the room. The blast was so powerful it blew out the apartment window. The commotion was noticed on the street below. A woman pointed up at the strange energy and her child asked, "What is happening?" A young man frantically made a phone call, urging someone to call the fire department for the Xu family's child. Inside, Xu Jingming writhed in agony as the integration continued past 50%. On the streets, people looked up as the sky turned dark and ominous. Above the apartment, a colossal dragon formed of crackling blue lightning materialized. The event attracted powerful individuals. A man in a high-rise wondered if a powerful beast was invading. Elsewhere, a military commander ordered Jiang Cheng's 3rd Legion to high alert, back at the apartment. The lightning dragon swirled in the sky before diving back down, funneling its immense energy into Xu Jingming's body. Xu Jingming let out a final scream as the system's progress bar jumped to 100%. The light and pain faded, replaced by a simple message: ability transformation complete. The overwhelming energy subsided, leaving Xu Jingming in his devastated training room. He slowly clenched his fist, feeling the immense power he now commanded. Potent blue and purple electricity crackled around his hand. A confident grin spread across his face. He recognized this S-rank ability was on a completely different level. He thought his old ability was like an electric baton, but this new power felt strong enough to shatter a person with one strike. His excitement was lessened as he saw the destruction. The windows were shattered and the walls were cracked. He thought the commotion was a bit too large and felt relieved he managed to control some of the energy. He then remembered the other part of his reward, 200 ability points. He wondered aloud what they were for as he touched the system interface. The system explained that ability points were obtained by killing fierce beasts and could be used to increase his levels and skills. A mischievous grin returned to his face. He expressed his delight at the simple cheat system and told it to open the system panel. A detailed status screen appeared, displaying his new profile, his name, his level as an unranked awakened, his new S-rank ability, Purple Heaven Divine Thunder, and his 200 available ability points. With the unified exam just one day away, Xu Jingming's eyes glowed. He knew he must use these 200 points wisely to maximize his combat power. Lightning crackled around his hand as he told the system to allocate the points for him. Xu Jingming decided to use his points logically, reasoning that all abilities come from the human body and spirit. He chose to strengthen these 2 attributes first. As the system processed the points, his stats for physique and spirit quickly increased. A surge of dark purple energy erupted and swirled around him. He looked slightly dazed, marveling at the feeling of his vital energy and thoughts being enhanced. Clenching his fist, he felt the new power inside him. He threw a test punch and a vortex of blue and purple lightning exploded from his fist, a display of power far beyond what he could do before. He looked at his hand, surrounded by crackling energy, and understood that by raising his basic attributes, his control over his combat skills and powers would also be stronger. The system panel confirmed the upgrade, showing his physique was now 141 and his spirit was 160. It explained that each ability point was equal to 0.2 units of vital energy or spirit energy. A confident grin spread across his face. He believed that with his current strength, getting into an awaken university would be easy. But he wondered how he now compared to the other 700,000 candidates in the province, especially the geniuses trained since childhood. Deciding to find out, he kicked his spear up from the rubble on the floor. As he caught it and slung it over his shoulder, he resolved to go to the martial arts hall to test his new power levels. As he prepared to leave, his apartment door was suddenly kicked open. A team of 3 firefighters burst in, ready to fight a fire, leaving Xu Jingming stunned. The lead firefighter, looking confused by the lack of a fire, explained they received a call about a fire at this location. Standing in the wrecked room, Xu Jingming calmly explained that the commotion was caused by his ability training and that everything was now fine. The lead firefighter accepted the explanation, knowing that incidents with awakened individuals were common. He radioed his team to fall back. As he left, he looked back at Xu Jingming with admiration, thinking how formidable the younger generation was to cause such a commotion just by practicing. Shortly after, the fire truck drove away. As Xu Jingming, now in his school uniform and carrying his spear, walked down the street, a neighbor he called Uncle Yang asked if he was okay after the fire. Xu Jingming reassured him everything was under control. Noticing the spear, the neighbor praised him for being so diligent, practicing even with the exam the next day. The story then explained that martial arts halls were important in this world. To advance, an awakened person must train their physique and spirit. The halls provided training grounds which were essential since not every family could afford a private training room. The two most famous martial arts hall chains were Thunder and Brutal Bear. Xu Jingming arrived at the Thunder Martial Arts Hall. The narration explained that the Brutal Bear Hall was expensive, mainly for students from rich families. The Thunder Hall, however, was free for all high school students, making it very popular. Inside the busy hall, Xu Jingming saw a familiar face in a group of students. The girl with long black hair and red eyes was Tangy, his cousin. He approached her and asked why she was at the Thunder Hall. Surprised to see him, Tangy replied that she had just come with a friend. Xu Jingming politely excused himself, telling Tangy and her friends to continue their visit while he headed to the training room. As he walked away, Tangy watched him, thinking he seemed a bit different. Her cheerful friend Zioa was immediately taken by Xu Jingming's appearance, calling him handsome and asking Tangy who he was. Tangy explained he was her cousin, Xu Jingming, also a third-year student taking the martial arts exam tomorrow. Zioa swooned, saying he would make a great boyfriend. A male friend teased her for falling in love and she enthusiastically agreed. Hearing this, Tangy decided to bring her friend back to reality. She revealed that Xu Jingming's awakened ability was only E rank. The news shattered Zioa's fantasy and she cried out, "What a pity it is." The male friend smirked, commenting that it was commendable for someone with an E rank ability to take the martial arts exam. Tangy, however, looked worried, saying, "Courage is meaningless when the risk is so high." Changing the subject, Tangy reminded the group they were there to visit the hall. Zioa agreed, mentioning she had spent all of high school at the expensive Brutal Bear Hall and suggested relaxing before the big exam was a good idea. Meanwhile, Xu Jingming found an empty training room. He stood before a large, round target with his spear. As he gripped it, he noticed it felt much lighter. He realized the spear hadn't changed, his own body had become much stronger. He considered that this old weapon might not be suitable anymore, but with the exam tomorrow, there was no time to find a new one. He decided to first test his peak physical strength without his lightning ability. He took a deep breath, tightened his grip and thrust the spear forward. The weapon slammed into the center of the target with incredible force. The strike left a spiderweb of cracks in the advanced training target. A digital display above it flashed the number 321. Xu Jingming was astonished. His pure physical strength had doubled. He knew the strongest output for a normal unranked awaken was only around 100 calories, making his base strength exceptional. Satisfied, he decided to try his new S-rank ability. His eyes glowed blue as he prepared to channel the purple heaven's divine thunder. Arcs of purple and blue lightning crackled around his body. With a powerful leap, he brought his spear down on the target, creating a massive explosion of electrical energy. He looked up at the new reading, an incredible 3,021 calories. Xu Jingming was thrilled by how powerful his S-rank ability was. The standard for a first-tier awakened was only 1,000 calories. The fact that he, still unranked, could unleash an attack comparable to a mid-tier first-tier awakened showed his new potential. But he wasn't done. With lightning still crackling around him, he declared that this was not his limit. He decided to use his true killer move, a technique stacking his enhanced strength, his ability, and his combat skills into one strike. He channeled all his energy into the spear, which became covered in intense purple lightning. He swung the spear in a wide arc. As the spear had neared the target, the lightning condensed into a single bright sphere of power. With a fierce cry of "break," he unleashed the attack. The spear connected, resulting in a massive explosion of purple energy that completely engulfed the target. The force of the attack sent a shock wave through the entire martial arts hall. In the main stadium, students were shaken, with one crying out, wondering if it was an earthquake. On the training room floor, Tangy, Zioa, and their friends were thrown off balance. The male friend recognized the powerful energy fluctuations, stating they were on the level of a true awakener. They wondered if a new awakener-level high school student had just appeared, since all the known ones trained at the other hall. Driven by curiosity, Tangy said they should go see. The group followed the trail of energy down the corridor. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with Xu Jingming, who was leaving the area with his spearhead now wrapped in a cloth. Tangy called out to him, surprised to see him there. Xu Jingming calmly said he was heading home to prepare for the exam, giving no hint of the power he had just used. His friend wished him luck but dismissively told the group to forget him. Pointing to the training room Xu Jingming just left, he said the energy came from there. The group approached the door, peeking inside. They saw a scene of total devastation. The advanced memory metal target had been completely destroyed and the reinforced wall behind it was a massive crater of rubble. The entire room was a wreck. Tangi, Zioya, and the others could only stare in pure shock, unable to comprehend the level of destructive power that was just unleashed in a high school training room. Staring at the destruction, Zioya exclaimed that even the advanced memory metal was blasted through, which would require an incredibly intense attack. She wondered if any high school student in their city of Jiangchangjin was actually that powerful. The brown-haired male friend dismissed the idea, touching the crater's edge. He said the residual energy felt too violent for a high school student. He theorized it was a powerful second-order ability user who mistakenly entered the student-level floor. Another friend agreed, adding that even a genius from the provincial capital couldn't do this, making it impossible for such a person to be in their small city. Zioya, however, suggested a different theory. She pointed out that the only person they saw nearby was Xu Jingming and excitedly suggested he might be a hidden super genius. Her friends ridiculed the idea, with one asking if she had been reading too many novels. The other pointed out that Xu Jingming was a known E-class user who would be lucky to have an attack strength of 300. Her friend offered a more logical explanation, suggesting the powerful user simply left through the other corridor. He then turned to Tangi, who had been silent, and asked for her opinion. Tangi simply answered, maybe. Stepping forward to inspect the damage, she ran her hand along the shattered wall. She noticed the impact marks looked like they were left by a long spear. The image of her cousin with his spear flashed in her mind. A deep suspicion formed, and she silently wondered if Xu Jingming taking the martial arts exam was really him overestimating his abilities. The next day was clear and bright, the day of the martial arts exam. Dozens of buses arrived at a massive fortified venue, dropping off students armed with various weapons. Among them was Xu Jingming, walking with a calm and confident stride, his spear on his shoulder. The students gathered by a tall fence, looking into the exam grounds with a mix of awe and terror. One student complained nervously, recalling that past exams had much weaker beasts. The consensus was that this year's exam would be incredibly difficult. As the students shared their fears, an arrogant voice cut through the crowd. A long-haired young man with a large sword scoffed at their cowardice. He declared that anyone who couldn't deal with a unicorn rhinoceros was useless, leaving the other students speechless. Nearby, Xu Jingming's best friend Liu Jai asked who the arrogant guy was. Xu Jingming identified him as Zhou Minjiang. Liu Jai explained that Zhou Minjiang was a well-known genius with a B-class ability who had already advanced to become a first-order ability user, a rare feat for a high school student. Xu Jingming looked at the prodigy with a confident smile and a competitive glint in his eye, silently wondering who was stronger. Suddenly, a loud voice called for the candidate's attention. A stern-looking man with a scar, dressed in a military-style uniform, introduced himself as Wang Keiyang, the chief commander of the exam. Standing on a military vehicle, Commander Wang Keiyang announced the exam would last 12 hours from 9:00 a.m. to 9:00 p.m. He gestured to the vast ruined town that served as the exam venue. He explained that it was divided into 4 zones: outer, central, inner, and core. Students earned points by killing beasts, with the score increasing based on the beast's rank and strength. The commander's expression turned grave as he gave his final warning. He said the core area was like a bonus question meant only for the top students. He urged everyone to act according to their abilities and not foolishly risk their lives for a higher score. Listening to the commander, Xu Jingming reflected on his own abilities. Before his power-up, he would have been limited to the outer area. But now, filled with power and ambition, he was determined to charge deep into the inner circle and perhaps even challenge the core area. An announcement was made for students to get their exam supplies. Xu Jingming and his friend approached their teacher Chen Fan, who was handing out tactical backpacks. Xu Jingming received his pack, which contained a smartwatch for tracking points, a backpack with energy bars, a drink, and a medical kit, and a safety ball that could create a high-voltage grid to ward off beasts. As teacher Chen Fan handed Xu Jingming his supplies, he offered one last piece of advice. He reminded Xu Jingming that his life was more important than anything, even if using the safety ball ended the exam early. Xu Jingming respectfully thanked his teacher. Just then, a familiar voice called his name. He turned to see his classmate Linking running towards him. She kindly offered him a spot on her team. With her was their class president Liu Qin, a C-class user who said he would protect Xu Jingming in the exam hall. However, another student objected, arguing that the exam was a serious competition. He complained that taking on an E-rank student like Xu Jingming would hurt their chances of getting a high score. Another teammate angrily agreed, accusing Liu Qin of changing their plan. The two objectors made it clear they didn't want to be saddled with a burden. The insults infuriated Xu Jingming's friend Liu Jai, but Xu Jingming calmly held him back. With a polite smile, Xu Jingming declined the offer. He told Liu Qin and Lin Qingli that he appreciated their kindness but planned to go in alone. A concerned Lin Qing reluctantly accepted his decision, urging him to be careful. The student who had complained smirked and suggested they go find the powerful Huang Tian to team up with instead, letting out a mocking laugh as they walked away. Xu Jingming watched them go with a confident smirk of his own, thinking that he was more than capable of getting a high score by himself. An announcement rang out declaring the official start of the exam. A fleet of drones swarmed into the sky ready to live broadcast the event. The massive gates opened and a flood of students charged into the ruined city shouting their goals. Among the crowd were Tangi and her friends, a determined-looking girl with a large sword, and the top contender Zhou Minjiang, who used his wind ability to leap ahead of the pack. In contrast, Xu Jingming remained calm. He took a single step, then broke into a steady run, his spear in hand, thinking that the exam had finally arrived and he was ready. As he ran, he tapped his smartwatch. A holographic screen confirmed his identity and displayed the real-time rankings. The top 3 spots were already filled, with Zhou Minjiang in first place with 7 points, followed by 2 other students. Xu Jingming looked at the leaderboard with a confident smirk. He noted that Zhou Minjiang had already started killing beasts, but the early lead only fueled his own competitive spirit. While others fought in the outer sections, Xu Jingming decided on a bolder strategy. He resolved to waste no time and head straight for the high-risk, high-reward core area. As he moved deeper into the ruined city, he suddenly stopped. Ahead, he discovered a gruesome scene, the lifeless body of another student in a pool of blood. Beside the body was an unused green safety ball, showing how fast the attack must have been. Xu Jingming was disturbed by the sight. He realized the student didn't even have a chance to activate his last defense. The grim reality of the exam hit him, and he understood the weight behind his teachers and the commander's warnings. He thought that if he hadn't received his S-class ability yesterday, he could have easily ended up in the same state. Steeling his resolve, he accepted the brutal nature of the exam. He knelt beside the fallen student and used the boy's smartwatch to call for the body to be retrieved. He reflected that opportunities always come with risks. Suddenly, he heard a noise nearby. From the shadows of a ruined building, a large clawed paw silently appeared. A moment later, a ferocious shadow cat with glowing purple eyes emerged. Xu Jingming instantly realized the horrifying truth: the beasts had left the dead student as bait. It was a trap, and the beast lunged towards him. Despite the shadow cat's terrifying lunge, Xu Jingming remained perfectly calm. The beast growled menacingly as it pounced with incredible speed, its shadowy claws extended. But Xu Jingming was even faster. With a fluid, casual movement, he sidestepped the attack, letting the beast fly past him. The shadow cat landed gracefully, its glowing purple eyes locked on its prey. Its reputation was well earned. With an agile body, sharp claws, and a bite force of over 1,000 kilograms, it was a deserved newbie killer. It let out a ferocious roar, trying to intimidate Xu Jingming. As he faced the beast, Xu Jingming thought about what made these creatures so dangerous. He knew fierce beasts had a special terrifying aura that could paralyze their prey with fear. He had heard that most awakened people, when facing a fierce beast for the first time, became helpless under this pressure, unable to use even 30% of their strength as they waited to be killed. He thought about how wealthy families hired bodyguards to take their children into the wilderness to get them used to this aura from a young age, a privilege he never had. Knowing this was his first true battle against a fierce beast, he readied his spear as the shadow cat lunged at him again. The beast closed the distance instantly, its mouth wide open. But Xu Jingming stood his ground, completely unaffected. Arcs of purple lightning crackled along his spear as he channeled his power. In a single swift motion, he thrust the spear forward, the lightning-infused tip piercing through the shadow cat's head and killing it instantly. He looked down at the dead creature with a thoughtful expression. He realized the beast's intimidating aura had no effect on him. A moment later, a blue holographic window appeared from his smartwatch, confirming the kill. Killed one unranked fierce beast, a shadow cat. Ability points +3. A note explained that fierce beasts were ranked from 1 to 9, and those below rank 1 were unranked, corresponding to unranked human awakened people. Xu Jingming looked at the map of the venue on his watch. He considered that killing beasts granted him ability points, but he seemed unimpressed by the small reward, thinking that unranked beasts gave far too few points. Realizing he was unaffected by the intimidating aura of fierce beasts, Xu Jingming concluded there was little point wasting time in the outer area. He resolved to get to the more dangerous central area as quickly as possible. He began his journey deeper into the exam venue, cutting a bloody path through the unranked beasts. He effortlessly killed shadow cats, iron-furred pigs, and wolf-like creatures, gaining a steady 3 to 5 ability points with each kill. However, he identified a flaw in his approach. While he had gained ability points, he recognized that he lacked actual combat experience. His new S-rank ability was so overwhelmingly powerful that it killed unranked beasts instantly, preventing him from hunting his fighting skills. He also considered the high energy cost of his new power. He knew higher ranked abilities consumed more energy. Unlike his old E-rank ability that could last for hours, he couldn't maintain his S-rank power at full strength for even an hour. With the exam lasting 12 hours, he understood he could not waste energy before reaching the core area. He decided on a new strategy. He would kill fierce beasts using only his spear technique to gain experience and conserve power. Just as he made this decision, a new, much larger threat appeared, a formidable bipedal unicorn rhinoceros. The massive beast roared and charged, tossing a wrecked car aside with its immense strength. Instead of retreating, Xu Jingming stood his ground and faced the charge head-on. The powerful impact of the rhino's horn sent him flying backward. With incredible agility, Xu Jingming used the momentum to flip himself in midair, positioning himself directly above the beast. Before the rhino could react, he dived down, landing on its back and plunging his spear deep into its skull with a single, precise strike. The massive beast collapsed, defeated. Breathing slightly, Xu Jingming was surprised by how much faster his killing speed had become, noting that even a powerful beast like the rhinoceros wasn't much of a challenge. A thought struck him, and he wondered if his spear technique broke through to a higher level without him realizing it. He summoned his system panel, which confirmed his suspicion. His spear technique had leveled up to the intermediate stage, and his ability points had risen to 256. He concluded that relying on his spear technique was the most effective way to boost his strength. Feeling how fluid the intermediate technique was, he wondered what would happen if he improved it further. Using his accumulated points, he decided to upgrade his spear skill again. The effect was instant. A massive influx of advanced spear techniques and complex movements flooded his mind, integrating into his muscle memory. He clutched his head, amazed by the sheer volume of skill he had just acquired. With a wealth of new techniques, Xu Jingming felt a surge of confidence. Gripping his spear, he stood tall amidst the ruins with a predatory smile. He declared that he couldn't wait to find a first-rank fierce beast to test his new skills on. At the same time, in another part of the outer area, Linking and her team were moving through the streets. Suddenly, Linking stopped, puzzled. In the distance, she thought she saw a familiar silhouette. She voiced her thoughts, saying she thought she just saw Xu Jingming. One of her teammates dismissed the idea, asking if she was seeing things. He argued it couldn't be Xu Jingming, as it would be suicide for someone with his E-rank strength to be this deep into the exam zone. Linking was filled with doubt but couldn't shake the feeling that she saw her classmate. She began to worry about him. Her thoughts were interrupted when another teammate called them over. The group rushed to find him standing before the massive, freshly killed corpse of the unicorn rhinoceros. They saw that the blood on its wounds wasn't dry, meaning it was killed just minutes ago. They examined the fatal injury, a clean, penetrating wound to the head made by a long-handled weapon. One of them exclaimed that it was a spear wound. The pieces clicked together in Linking's mind. The spear wound, the timing, and the silhouette all pointed to one conclusion. She wondered aloud if the person she saw could really have been Xu Jingming. The skeptical teammate scoffed at the suggestion, arguing that a unicorn rhinoceros was a beast that only a C-rank awakened person could defeat alone. To settle the argument, another teammate suggested they check the score rankings. Without hesitation, Lin Qingli activated the leaderboard on her smartwatch. As the rankings appeared, her eyes widened in shock. There in 46th place with 256 points was Xu Jingming, Jiang Second High School. She exclaimed that it really was him. Her teammates were speechless, their faces showing pure disbelief. They refused to accept that the E-rank student they looked down on was now in the top 50, speculating it must be someone with the same name. They were left questioning everything, unable to comprehend the situation. Meanwhile, far from the battlefield, officials and VIPs watched the exam on large screens. One spectator commented on the predictable strength of the first high school, which dominated the top 10 ranks. They singled out Zhou Minjiang, ranked first with 412 points, who seemed to have secured the title of Jiang Cheng's top student. Another official wondered if he could become a provincial top 100 student, a feat no one from their city had achieved in years. Among the officials was Jiang Wenshan, the director of the Jiang Education Bureau. With a self-satisfied smile, he agreed that Zhou Minjiang was their city's ace and expressed confidence that he would break into the provincial top 100. He then turned to the principals of the first and third high schools, praising their institutions. The principals humbly thanked the director. While praising the top schools, Director Jiang Wen turned to the principal of the second high school, Zhao Yao. He condescendingly told him that his school needed to work harder, noting their best student was only ranked 18th. The principal sweated nervously, bowing and stammering his agreement. Principal Xiao Yao was inwardly fuming. He knew that among the top 50 students, only 8 were from his school. He mentally listed his top students, including Xu Jingming, urging them to get their act together. A moment later, he paused. The name Xu Jingming didn't sound familiar. He wondered aloud who this student was and why he had never seen the name before. He turned to the teacher beside him, who was Chen Fan, and asked about Xu Jingming. Upon hearing that his supposedly weakest student was in the top 50, teacher Chen Fan had a jaw-dropping reaction of pure shock. He took a moment to compose himself, wiping sweat from his brow. He recalled that Xu Jingming was an E-rank awakened and wondered if the boy had been hiding his true strength, but he dismissed the thought as impossible. He looked up at the monitors in frustration, realizing that since only the top 10 students had dedicated camera feeds, there was no way for him to see how Xu Jingming was accumulating so many points. Meanwhile, back in the exam venue, Xu Jingming had pushed through the outer area and arrived at the central area, a zone with a much higher danger level. He walked calmly through the streets, crushing a bottle underfoot. Taking a moment to eat an energy bar, he observed that the number of fierce beasts had decreased. He knew this was because ranked beasts had developed intelligence and a sense of territory, making them more difficult opponents. Suddenly, his sharp senses picked something up. His eyes narrowed as he announced that his target had arrived. An instant later, a powerful striped beast burst through a pile of wrecked cars. The creature was a first-rank fierce beast, an arm-blade tiger named for the sharp, blade-like bones on its forelimbs. Xu Jingming stood his ground unfazed. He remarked on his good luck, pleased to have encountered a first-rank beast so soon. With a confident and eager expression, he readied his spear, declaring that this powerful opponent was the perfect test for his newly upgraded spear technique. The arm-blade tiger let out a ferocious roar and lunged, its powerful claws ready to attack. Xu Jingming remained calm and composed, holding his spear defensively. With a graceful spin, he deflected the tiger's initial pounce, expertly parrying the beast's attack with the shaft of his spear. The force of the blow caused the tiger to recoil slightly. Xu Jingming, however, seemed completely unimpressed. With a confident smirk, he mockingly asked if this was all the power a first-tier beast had, musing that it would take a tiger king to make him use more effort. His taunt enraged the beast, and he declared that he was sending it on its way. Xu Jingming went on the offensive. He leaped forward with incredible speed, his spear becoming a blur as he landed a clean, deep strike on the tiger's shoulder, drawing blood. The beast roared in pain and fury, but Xu Jingming gave it no time to recover. Maintaining his calm, focused stance, his attack had only enraged the first-rank beast further. Its eyes began to glow with a menacing teal light. It rose up on its hind legs, towering over Xu Jingming, and let out a deafening roar as it prepared to unleash its full power. The arm-blade tiger brought its massive bladed paws down in a devastating swipe. Xu Jingming, showing incredible reflexes, dodged the attack and used the momentum to swing himself around a nearby lamppost, avoiding the deadly claws and setting himself up for a powerful counterattack. Landing gracefully after his acrobatic move, Xu Jingming acknowledged the tenacity of the first-tier beast. He could see that despite its injuries, the arm-blade tiger still wanted to put up a desperate struggle. Deciding to end the fight, he declared that any further resistance was futile. He began to channel his spear technique, lightning gale break, and a vortex of blue energy swirled around his weapon. With a powerful war cry, he unleashed the technique. His body became a blur as he executed a devastating spinning attack, the energy from his spear creating multiple slashing arcs of light. The attack connected, and the tiger let out a final agonized cry as the powerful technique tore through its body. The massive beast collapsed to the ground, defeated. A notification immediately appeared on Xu Jingming's smartwatch, confirming the kill of a first-tier arm-blade tiger and awarding him 14 ability points. He noted with satisfaction that the points from a first-tier beast were almost double what he got from an unranked one. A new perspective dawned on him. He realized that while the exam hall was a place of danger for others, for him it was a perfect treasure ground to level up. With renewed determination, he vowed to harvest as many ability points as he could by hunting the most powerful beasts. Back in the audience stands, the atmosphere was tense as officials and teachers watched the live rankings. The leaderboard showed Xu Jingming was now tied for 32nd place with 328 points. An official turned to teacher Chen Fan, asking if the surprising student was from his class. Suddenly, Chen Fan was the center of attention. Other teachers praised him, marveling that only students from his class had broken into the top 50 from their school. They complimented his teaching methods. A flustered Chen Fan humbly deflected the praise, insisting it was all due to the student's own hard work. Their conversation was cut short when someone shouted and pointed at the screen. Xu Jingming's ranking had skyrocketed again, jumping to number 25. One official exclaimed in disbelief that he had somehow gained 44 points at once. Director Jiang Wenshan mentally calculated the point values, recalling that a peak unranked beast was worth 6 to 8 points, while a low-grade first-tier beast was worth 14 to 16 points. Principal Zyro Yao continued the thought, his face pale with shock. He remembered that the kill count updated every 4 seconds, and an impossible realization began to form in his mind. Director Jiang Wenshan completed the stunning calculation. Within a mere 4 seconds, Xu Jingming must have killed either 5 peak unranked beasts or 3 low-grade first-tier beasts. A pleased smile spread across his face as he remarked that this kind of performance hadn't been seen in years. He turned to Principal Zyro Yao and commented that this student was a very good prospect, asking why he had never heard of him. The principal, still flustered, admitted he had only just found out about Xu Jingming himself and said they would have to ask the boy's homeroom teacher. He immediately summoned a nervous teacher Chen Fan, telling him to explain Xu Jingming's situation to the leaders, specifically asking about his talent. Standing before the city's top education officials, a sweating Chen Fan stammered out the unbelievable truth. Xu Jingming awakened an E-grade ability, weak electricity. The principal was incredulous, asking if Chen Fan was certain he hadn't remembered incorrectly. Chen Fan insisted that he was sure. He added that he specifically advised Xu Jingming not to participate in the exam due to his low-rank ability. Director Jiang Wenshan listened with growing curiosity. He deduced that for a student with only an E-grade ability to get this far, he must have other outstanding qualities. This mystery piqued his interest. He decided to wait, confidently predicting that with Xu Jingming's momentum, he should soon break into the top 10. At that point, they would get a dedicated camera feed and would finally understand how he was doing this. He added a stern warning, however, that if the student was cheating, there would be consequences. Just as he finished speaking, both teacher Chen Fan and Principal Zyro Yao's eyes went wide with shock. A new update appeared on the leaderboard. Xu Jingming had done the impossible and broken into the top 10, now at 9th place. Just below him at number 12 was his cousin, Tangi. Elsewhere in the exam hall, Tangi, now with cat-like ears and a tail, sat atop a defeated beast. She looked off into the distance with a knowing smile, now certain her cousin was the one who caused the destruction at the martial arts hall. The top-ranked student Zhou Minjiang also noticed the new name on the leaderboard. He noted with some surprise that with 6 hours still left, a new face had squeezed into the top 10. He thought to himself that he had never heard of Xu Jingming before. Because he was in the top 10, a dedicated camera drone was sent to follow Xu Jingming. The feed showed him effortlessly killing another first-tier beast with his spear. As the beast fell, a notification awarded him another 14 points. He commented to himself that the efficiency of killing beasts was much higher in the central area. He then noticed the drone and realized he must have entered the top 10. Standing over his latest kill, Xu Jingming reflected on the nature of the exam. He understood it was a test of strength and potential, where better results led to greater recognition. With this in mind, he decided he had no reason to hide his true power, declaring that breaking into the top 10 was just the beginning. Before challenging the core area, he decided to improve his strength again. He checked his system panel, which showed his spear technique was now at the advanced level, and he had 312 ability points. He noted with some disappointment that his level hadn't automatically promoted from awakened. He deduced that the only way to advance to a true ability user was by learning a specific cultivation method, which he could not do during the exam. Since he couldn't increase his rank, he decided to continue improving his basic attributes. He spent some points boosting his physique by 40 and his spirit by 22. Feeling a surge of new power, he clenched his fist, ready to finally head to the core area. He soon arrived at the entrance to the core area where the danger level was highest. He was greeted by a brutal scene, a pack of 9 armored tigers devouring the corpse of a large rhino-like beast. From a safe distance, Xu Jingming observed the pack. He quickly identified the one in the middle, which was larger and had a more powerful aura, as the armored tiger king. Far from being intimidated, he saw this as a great harvest of points waiting for him. Just as he prepared to move, he sensed another presence. He called out, telling the hidden person to come out. From behind a corner, Zhou Minjiang emerged. Looking impressed, he complimented Xu Jingming on his sharp perception and admitted he didn't expect the mysterious student who broke into the top 10 to be him. Xu Jingming recognized the top-ranked student and asked how Zhou Minjiang knew who he was. Zhou Minjiang explained that he was familiar with every strong candidate who could enter the core area. Since Xu Jingming was an unknown who rose through the ranks, he naturally deduced his identity. Zhou Minjiang then revealed he had been watching the tiger pack and prepared to draw his sword. Xu Jingming immediately became wary, asking if he intended to steal his monster. Zhou Minjiang clarified that he had no intention of stealing the kill. He explained that the armored Tiger King was a powerful mid-grade first-tier beast, and with its pack of 9 other tigers, it was an opponent no single person could handle alone. He proposed they cooperate to take down the pack. However, Xu Jingming flatly rejected the offer with 2 simple words, "No need." With a look of absolute confidence, he declared that he was more than enough by himself. Dismissing Zhou Minjiang's offer, Xu Jingming confidently stepped out into the open to confront the pack of armored tigers. His sudden appearance immediately drew their attention. They let out warning growls, and the Tiger King, perched on its kill, roared to assert its dominance. Xu Jingming's eyes narrowed as he observed his opponents. He noted that, as expected of a group led by a Beast King, the tigers had enough intelligence for a simple battle formation with the stronger ones in front. The pack growled menacingly, preparing to attack as one. One of the tigers broke from the pack and charged, roaring as it lunged at him. From his hiding spot, Zhou Minjiang watched with a mix of disbelief and intrigue. He decided to observe the encounter, curious to see if Xu Jingming was just marching to his death or if he had some special skill to back up his incredible confidence. Facing the charging beast, Xu Jingming remained perfectly still, a calm aura around him as he prepared his spear. In a blur of motion, he began to spin the weapon with blinding speed, the shaft becoming a near-invisible circle as he gathered energy for his attack. He unleashed a devastatingly wide spinning sweep, sending a massive arc of force tearing through the air towards the attacking beasts. The attack connected with overwhelming power. In a single brutal motion, his spinning spear cut through several of the tigers at once, sending a spray of blood across the street. System notifications instantly popped up, confirming his kills and awarding ability points. The lifeless bodies of the tigers collapsed onto the blood-soaked pavement. The initial wave of the pack was annihilated by his single powerful strike. The armored Tiger King was enraged by the slaughter of its pack. Xu Jingming, however, looked at the carnage with a hint of dissatisfaction. He remarked that it was a pity his physical strength was still lacking, as he was unable to kill all the tigers in one blow. The remaining tigers, led by their enraged king, surrounded him, ready to avenge their fallen pack members. The Tiger King unleashed a deafening roar, a powerful sonic attack meant to disorient its opponent. The force of the roar was so immense that it shattered the windows of nearby buildings, creating a rain of glass. Even Zhou Minjiang, watching from a safe distance, was affected by the sonic blast, clutching his head in pain. Xu Jingming, however, stood firm amidst the shattering glass. Completely unfazed, he recognized the Tiger King's attempt to intimidate him. With a defiant look, he declared that while the beast might scare others, it couldn't scare him. As the remaining tigers lunged at him from all sides, Xu Jingming met their charge with fluid grace and deadly precision. He parried one tiger's attack, then used the beast's own body as a springboard to launch himself into the air, avoiding the snapping jaws of another. The Tiger King, seeing an opening, charged forward, but Xu Jingming was ready. Still airborne, he positioned himself for a decisive strike. With a powerful overhead swing, he brought his spear down directly onto the Tiger King's head. The immense force cleaved through the beast's skull, killing it instantly. He landed gracefully as a system notification confirmed the kill of an upper-rank first-order Armblade tiger, awarding him a massive 20 ability points. Watching from his hiding spot, Zhou Minjiang was utterly dumbfounded. Sweating and wide-eyed, he couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. He muttered to himself that there was no way one person could have taken care of the entire pack, wondering what kind of monster Xu Jingming truly was. Xu Jingming, on the other hand, was ecstatic. He marveled at the huge harvest of ability points he earned from the tiger pack. He excitedly wondered how many points he could accumulate before the 12-hour exam was over. Knowing that more points meant more power, he decided to hurry and find the next group of beasts to hunt. Before he could leave, Zhou Minjiang ran out from his hiding spot, demanding to know how Xu Jingming managed to crush the tigers with just a long spear. He asked if his ability was a reinforcement type, which would explain his incredible physical prowess. Without stopping, Xu Jingming simply leaped away, calling back that he was a lightning type. Zhou Minjiang was left fuming, not believing the answer. He clenched his fist in frustration, thinking Xu Jingming was being dismissive. A moment later, he realized that with so many new kills, Xu Jingming's score was likely to catch up to his. He quickly checked the leaderboard on his smartwatch. To his absolute horror, he saw that Xu Jingming had not just caught up but completely surpassed him. The leaderboard now showed Xu Jingming in first place with 1122 points, while he had been pushed down to second with 985. The realization left him screaming in frustration. Back in the audience stands, the officials were erupting with excitement. Director Zhang Wen stood up and declared that Xu Jingming's high-level spearmanship confirmed he was a genuine genius. He clapped a beaming Principal Xiao Yao on the shoulder, announcing that with Xu Jingming representing them, Zhang Kang could definitely get into the provincial top 100. He promised accommodation for the second high school after the exam, much to the principal's tearful delight. Principal Xiao Yao was overcome with emotion, thinking what a huge surprise Xu Jingming had been, finally giving his school its day to shine. 3 hours later in the core zone, Zhou Minjiang walked through the streets looking utterly confused. He wondered aloud where all the fierce beasts had gone. A voice from behind him suggested that he would have to ask the #1 ranked student. He turned to see his cousin Tangi along with other top-ranked students. Wuhe and Meng Di. Tangi pointed to the empty streets, explaining that Xu Jingming had already killed all the beasts. She said that because they couldn't find any beasts to fight, they had to team up. Zhou Minjiang was left stunned, finding it impossible to believe one person could have cleared out the entire core zone. Tangi told Zhou Minjiang that she could tell he hadn't been a ranked ability user for very long. To prove her point, she told him to look at her cousin's current score. She activated her smartwatch and the leaderboard appeared. Zhou Minjiang's eyes went wide in disbelief as he saw the astronomical number next to Xu Jingming's name, 35 points, more than triple his own score. He could only stammer in shock. Tangi calmly explained the math. Subtracting the roughly 700 points Xu Jingming got in the central zone, he still earned over 2,500 points, meaning he must have single-handedly killed almost 200 fierce beasts in the core zone alone. A bead of sweat rolled down Zhou Minjiang's face as he realized the truth. It wasn't that Xu Jingming was afraid of someone stealing his kills. He had planned to monopolize the entire core zone from the beginning. Wuhe explained their current situation. With only a few hours left, the remaining top students had formed a team. Their plan was to brave the innermost core zone, a place they knew was filled with upper-ranked beasts and even a second-order beast king. He acknowledged that going in alone would be a death wish. Meng Di then formally invited Zhou Minjiang to join their team. With no other option, he agreed, shouting, "Count me in." The scene shifted to a quiet, moonlit rooftop. Xu Jingming sat alone atop a massive pile of slain beast corpses, his spear planted beside him. His supplies were completely exhausted and he knew the exam was nearing its end. But his hunt for power was not over. He decided he must go deeper to get more ability points. Knowing the innermost core zone held second-order fierce beasts, he resolved to strengthen his power one last time. He pulled up his system panel, revealing he had accumulated a staggering 2413 ability points. With a mischievous grin, he decided to put his points into an upgrade. After channeling the new power, he stood over the corpse of a massive bear-like creature, letting out a breath of relief. He felt confident that with this final boost, he should be able to handle this year's combat exam finale. As the other top students sprinted towards the final area, their final sprint began. Deep within the innermost zone, a terrifying new beast emerged from the ruins. A massive white-furred wolf-like creature with glowing red eyes and dangerous red crystals on its back. As the final challenge appeared, Xu Jingming arrived on the scene calm and ready. He held his spear, a confident look on his face as he wondered what kind of second-order fierce beast the exam had arranged for him this year. Just as Xu Jingming arrived for the final challenge, the team of top-ranked students also reached the innermost core zone. They immediately identified the massive crystal-backed creature as a bloodthirsty savage bear. The beast showed its incredible power by smashing a wrecked car with a single swipe of its paw. The sight filled the team with dread. Zhou Minjiang exclaimed that they were in big trouble. Meng Di explained that this rare beast had a hide as tough as E-grade alloy, which even missiles couldn't pierce. She added with terror that a single strike from its paw could kill them all instantly. Seeing the overwhelming odds, Tangi suggested they abandon the mission. Their situation was even more dire than they thought. They realized the compound was guarded not just by the Beast King, but also by a large pack of high-rank first-level beasts. One of them grimly stated that if they entered, they would likely be wiped out by the horde before the savage bear even moved. Faced with the impossible challenge, a team member immediately quit, saying there was no point in getting a high score if you died. Zhou Minjiang tried to stop him, angrily questioning the point of being handsome if he was just going to rush into a horde of beasts to die. The team's morale had completely shattered. Suddenly Meng Di pointed towards the compound, shouting for the others to look. They saw a lone figure entering the deadly area. Tangi's eyes widened as she recognized him. It was Xu Jingming fearlessly walking into the heart of the beast horde. As he gracefully leaped into the compound, the others watched in disbelief. Zhou Minjiang complained about the difficult test while another student panicked, crying out that Xu Jingming's entrance had startled the entire horde, which now turned its attention to him. Enraged by the intrusion, the entire horde of fierce beasts charged at him. Xu Jingming stood his ground in the center of the street, and in an instant he was completely engulfed by the snarling creatures. Watching from the rooftop, the other students were horrified. Tangi worried for her cousin, but Wu Hao remarked that he was too reckless. Tangi declared she had to go help him. Meng Di grabbed her arm, trying to stop her, and Wu Hao called her crazy, saying it was a pointless death. Tangi desperately insisted that Jingming was her cousin, and she couldn't just watch him die. Before she could act, a massive explosion of purple and blue lightning erupted from the center of the beast horde. The raw power created a blinding flash, forcing the students on the roof to shield their eyes. Zhou Minjiang stared, wondering aloud if this was the lightning superpower Xu Jingming mentioned earlier. The lightning dissipated, revealing a scene of utter carnage. The entire horde of first-level beasts had been wiped out, their charred bodies scattered around a lone, unharmed figure. Xu Jingming stood in the devastation, purple lightning crackling around him. He acknowledged that his physical strength alone wasn't enough, so he had to use his superpower. A confident smile played on his lips as he felt the immense power of his S-grade ability. Having cleared the lesser threats, he turned his attention to the final challenge, the bloodthirsty savage bear standing over the corpses of its minions. The massive beast let out a deafening roar. Xu Jingming remained calm, analyzing his opponent. He noted the savage bear was massive and likely not agile, concluding that with his powerful thunder ability it should be manageable. He then noticed the beast was not alone. It had several smaller but still dangerous minions. Realizing these creatures might be an annoyance, he decided there was only one thing to do. With a look of fierce determination, his eyes glowing, he declared that he would clear the area first. He burst into motion, his body enhanced by his S-grade lightning ability, moving with blinding speed as he blitzed through the remaining beasts. He effortlessly dispatched a high-rank Shadow Cat, his smartwatch confirming the kill and awarding him 13 points. With a confident grin, he marveled at the enhancement his superpower provided to his physique, but acknowledged he couldn't maintain the dangerous state for long. Knowing it was enough to clear the minions, he cut down the last of the lesser beasts with a powerful sweep of his spear, earning another 15 points for a high-rank unicorn rhino. With the area cleared, the final confrontation began. The savage bear roared in fury, slamming its massive paws into the ground and creating a shock wave that shattered the pavement. The beast charged, shaking the ground. Xu Jingming, wreathed in his lightning aura, met the charge head-on. With a powerful leap, he dodged the charge and swung his spear in a devastating arc, shattering one of the large red crystals on the beast's back. The battle continued in a blur, with Xu Jingming expertly dodging the bear's attacks and landing precise strikes, shattering more crystals and wounding the beast. His smartwatch continuously updated with points as he dismantled the Beast King's defenses. The savage bear roared, enraged as it watched its minions fall. Xu Jingming, wreathed in lightning, taunted the beast, asking if it was getting angry. He promised to deal with it. After taking care of the last minion as he charged the final rhino, the Bear King watched with cunning intelligence. Just as Xu Jingming was about to strike, the Bear King moved with unexpected speed, smashing its own minion to bits to intercept him. Xu Jingming was surprised, realizing the beast anticipated his move. The Bear King clapped its paws together, sacrificing its last minion to create a devastating shockwave that obliterated the ground and nearby cars. The final rhino was torn apart in the explosion. However, the attack failed to harm its target. Xu Jingming, surrounded by his lightning aura, gracefully flipped through the air, landing safely and untouched by the explosion. With the battlefield cleared of lesser threats, only the two kings remained. Xu Jingming grinned fiercely, his body crackling with power. He declared that with no minions left, it was time to see if the beast's armor-like hide could withstand the force of his thunder.